States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have three projects tonight. One is going to be a project that I was going to present, and since we don't have enough people for a quorum, I'm not allowed to vote. So everybody else has enough people here for their projects, but the 206 Poplar Avenue, we'll be continuing to August. So I have a letter from the owner stating that it says the scheduled review of 206 Poplar Avenue for Wednesday's 7 to 14 HAR meeting will not be possible due to the lack of a quorum vote at this time. We are therefore requesting that the project be continued for August 6th meeting. Thank you for your consideration. So that's part of the record for these guys. So we'll go on to the second project. Second project tonight is HAR 2014-13, 428 Midland Avenue. Addition of family room, mudroom, and breakfast room in the rear of home. Wraparound porch on west side around mudroom, and reconstruct garage. Just introduce yourselves and present. We like to start with a site plan usually, and that's kind of the way to go. Thank you. Okay.
I'm Sean Dedeen, the homeowner at 428 Midland.
Okay, thank you.
Elizabeth Springer. I'm the designer and engineer. Okay, I think I have everything here.
Do you want a handheld mic? Would that help?
Yes, that would be better.
Okay,
Thanks.
here you go. There you go. You're welcome.
All right, so we have two parts of it, the house and the garage. And to start with, let me get a pointer here. All right, so we have the existing structure in this area here. I don't know if we can zoom in a little bit, maybe to help see. Thank you. All right, so we have the existing structure, which is primarily a rectangular area here and then a piece off the back, which is the kitchen and a second floor on top of it. And then we have a garage existing in the back. So we're proposing to enlarge the garage and then put an addition off of the rear of the home. And the addition is truly off the back. This portion that you see right here is the kitchen extending. So right now they have a small little bump out, just very small, almost like a window seat, that they have a small table and a couple of chairs in. The Deneen's have 3 young children, and it's really hard. You can't really sit in the kitchen. It's really narrow, so there's a small island and then this small little eating area. So we just want to extend this out the back a little bit so that they can actually get a breakfast room in there and see the rear yard, because right now it's closed off. So if you look at this picture here, you can see that this is the entrance into the kitchen, but it's pretty much a solid door right on here. And this is a little breakfast area right here that just bumps out slightly. And so your view is only to the side. So when the kids are out playing in the yard, you can't see them, and the kids are young. So we need to do something where we can actually see the backyard and get to the backyard. So but we also have the situation where when you come into the kitchen, look how far away your garage is, and you've got to walk all the way over to here. So it's just not the best setup right now. And so we're looking to not only address the needs of the family, but improve the access to the backyard when the kids are back there, and just a view to the backyard, because we're very limited on that. The house has only 3 rooms on the first floor. It's got a living room here, where the window is. It's got a dining room over in here, which they use as kind of their family room right now, so there's no dining room use at this time. And then it's got the kitchen. There's a small little butler's pantry in between, but that's it. Like, you enter into the foyer and the stairs are there, and there's 2 rooms, one on the left, one on the right. So for a family with young kids, if you're in the kitchen, you can't actually see the kids in the living room. So it's not the best layout. So they just want to kind of bring it up to date, but be very respectful of the existing structure. So we're looking to put on a family room off the back here that gives us access out into this outdoor living area, but also especially to the backyard where the kids are. We're looking to put the breakfast room where you can actually see out there and have a place to sit at a regular table. And then over in this area, which I can show you the actual plans as well, we have a mudroom so that when you're coming from into this area, you actually have a place to put everything. Because right now they just drop it in the kitchen. But we also wanted to extend this porch a little bit. Right now, they've got this really nice porch off the side of the house, but you don't have any access to it unless you go outside. So you can't go through the living room. There's just 2 windows there. But we thought if we could, when we put the mudroom in, which is right behind this area here, it would allow us to access the porch and then maybe even change one of the windows out to a door so that we could actually get there from the living room, but also when you're coming up the side, we could blend the 2 porches together for a nice look. So
Could you place this one underneath that one? Just put them like,
underneath, hopefully we're all in the same order here.
yeah.
That's-
This one just shows the side porch.
That's the side, yes.
And if you could put that next to the rear picture, just underneath, that would be helpful as you're
Sure.
kind of describing things. Thank you.
There we go. So this is the side porch. You can notice that it has the tapered round columns with the pedestal bases of the stone that matches the house. The first floor of the house is pretty much stone all the way around, except when you get to the rear area of the kitchen, it's a stucco over wood, but then when you get down to the foundation, it's the stone again. So we'd want to replicate that same type of application for the most part, at least around the foundation area. And then when we do the porch, we'll want to replicate the way the columns are done, the paint colors, the rafter tails that are showing on the porch, the way the roof is designed. So we're really pulling that exact thing all the way around. I'll show you some elevation views. Would you like
So
to?
before you go from there,
Yes.
the kind of the crosshatch that you're showing is only 1-story addition?
Yes, it's a 1-story addition with a hip roof
Okay.
that matches what's going on with the home for the most part.
And then the existing porch has, looks like it has a hip with kind of a flare.
Yes.
Is that going to extend out further?
We're going to add a piece on to this side of it that doesn't quite come out as far. So we're going to step back a little bit. They're going to be connected, but the roofs will be
Okay.
very similar.
Okay.
Yeah. And when you're looking at the hatching here, there's 2 hatchings going on, just because I knew it was going to be looked at from 2 different perspectives. We've got the impervious surface of a patio, and this isn't a finalized site plan. Once we are able to move forward with it, we'll create that final patio design. But the area where you see the little dots here, the little crosses, that is actually the footprint of the family room, right here. Family room and
Okay.
mudroom.
Okay. So I guess you haven't gotten to the second floor yet, but there's a piece on that
Yes.
back. Maybe we can talk about that
Sure.
as well.
So right now.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. I'm no real schedule of order of events here. This glass piece off the back was added by a previous homeowner, and we'd like to restore it back to what it was. And there is a piece of a wing wall still left on either side in that bedroom up there. We'd like to remove this glass piece here and put a window back in the center. The only difference from this window from the other windows is that it's got to be egress. So it's going to be a little bit bigger, but it's going to replicate the window. It's just big enough that we can put a double hung in and still get the egress.
Is it going to replicate the triple window to the left on the main portion of the rear?
No, it's going to replicate the windows that are like these here.
Okay, got it,
So
got
single.
it, got it.
Okay.
Yes, just a little bit bigger because those aren't egress windows.
I see now.
So we're not going to do the triple, mostly because when you look at it from the when you see the plans on drawing A8
That
and
would be
A9,
too-
it's really big, but it doesn't allow you to get any closets in there. So we figured we'd flank the window with a couple of closets for that bedroom. 2 children will be probably sharing that room, and with the bunk beds, that was the only place for
that
closets.
makes
So
sense.
we'll probably keep the windows along the second floor, all looking the same. They just have the mullions at the top, the grills, and then at the bottom, there's no grills in the windows there.
Have you guys gotten into investigating what's under the stucco?
We believe in the back and the top and the second floor that it's all wood framed, and that it's stone all below here.
But possibly wood shingle or something like that?
If you look under the, obviously, we don't have the pictures close enough, but on the front porch and the side porch there, when you look up, they didn't stucco everything that's under the, I guess, the roof part, the hip roof part. So you can see a wood shingle that's there from a previous iteration of the building. I mean, the stone, as Liz said, basically wraps around the entire first floor. But my understanding is it was wood shingles originally up to the slate roof, and then it was stuccoed over about 40 years ago. So I did some research
You're
on
not
it.
going in that direction to restore that at this point, right?
No, no. I mean, we're very respectful of of the look and everything else, but to try to restore the wood shingles, I think would be an exercise we're not ready to try to tackle. We were assuming the stone and a stucco look and slate. Potentially natural slate or something that looks very, very similar in any roof that needs to be added on the house or the garage as well, just to try to maintain the appearance.
Okay.
This is an example of the stone. We're going to use the pinnacle stone veneer, and as you know, it's just a shaving of the actual stone. This one was matched by pinnacle stone to their existing house. It was special order to match that stone, and we have a couple samples here, but it matches the variation and the fact that the outside wall is pretty rough. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a really flat stone. You can see the variations in this, that it's not straight like some of the other ones are. And then we would plan to carry the stucco around as well, and matching the existing colors. Let me get that out. So there's 3 colors on the house, and for the window and door trim, it looks like it's just purple and green, but it's actually 2 shades of purple and then a green. So they've color matched them pretty closely here. You should have these color samples in there, and I do have the actual color samples from the paint store as well. But this is the closest purple, and then a lighter purple, more like a pale purple, and then the green. So it's a combination of these 3 right here.
So, I mean, we appreciate that level of detail. We're not really allowed, nor do we want to tell you what colors to paint your house.
That's fine.
So, those kinds of things are great. We're really not supposed to talk about, the finishes on the outside either, but when you said a veneer stone, and I looked at that existing, and you had all that in and out rustications going on, I had kind of a flat stone in my head, and I was like, that's how you're going to make that work. And
Yes.
that's nice to see that you've got something that shows
Yes.
you're trying to get that depth out of it. So,
Yeah, they do a good job. We've worked with them on a few historic homes. Another one on Midland Avenue, they were just right down the street from this one, and he was able to match that one really well for us, too. So I've been really pleased with what he's been able to do.
so I think probably if you could just go to the drawings of the elevations
Sure.
and describe, and actually keep that rear picture up as well,
Okay.
so we can see the before and after. That'd be really helpful.
Okay. I'll just tuck them under here. All right. So going to drawing, let's see, if you want to see the elevations, we'll go to there first. And I do have drawings of the inside in case we need to explain how we laid out the outside. So the drawings start on A10. And if you look on the 11 by 17s, that is we had a little revision to the door, which is why I issued a drawing there. We switched a window and a door out. So our goal here is we really want to reuse as much as we can, and we don't want to take out anything unless we just have to get access to it. So we need to get access into this living room from somewhere else besides the foyer. And it also gives us a great place to put a mudroom because it connects closer to the garage and also gives us access to the side porch. So we're going to remove this window, this bay window, and we're going to move it over to the kitchen. So we're going to put it there so that it's right there at the breakfast table. You can see out. But we did notice that it's a little small for that wall. And we want to make sure we still get a nice view of the backyard. So we took 2 windows that are just like the ones that we have around the house right now. You can see them a little bit on the breakfast room. And we're putting those here to give us just a little bit more light around the back. So that, because the kitchen is long and narrow, and it only has 1 window on the neighbor's side. So we just need a little more light in there. So we use that same window pattern on this floor. And then when you look at, this is the entrance into the family room. So we have an 8-foot slider here. These are eagle windows and doors, so they're matching the colors, and this will give us our steps and access to the back. So originally, in the plans I submitted, I had it on the wall facing out to the side yard, but we got a little concerned that being able to get from the kitchen out to the outside quicker if you needed to was better to be able to just come right out here. So we have an 8-foot slider on this wall, and then this is the window into the mudroom, which lines up with the center of the opening into the living room. So you get the direct view in there. And again, we've used this pattern of transom over large window, which is kind of what's going on here. It's going on in the center panel of the little bump out for where they sit right currently. So we're kind of following that pattern all the way around on that. So that's the rear elevation. You can see again over the bedroom that we've taken that same window and put it in the center. We are following the existing roof to create the roof over the mudroom and extend it out to the porch. We'll have the rafter tails exposed. We'll do the same tapered round column with the stone base. The handrail will match similarly, but right now the handrail isn't conforming. It's below 36 inches. So we do have to make that to code on the side of the entrance up into the mudroom. So there'll be a little difference in height, but we'll replicate that as best as possible. And then the stairs here as well, there'll be 2 code treads and risers with handrail on the left and right because we're going above the 30 inches above the ground. If you flip to A11, which again should be in your revised plans, again, we're carrying the stone. So the stone that's on the existing foundation at the bump out of the back of the house continues to carry around the rear of the home and extend up onto the columns. We provided a door into the mudroom, and if we do take out the window in the living room, we provided a door there as well. And we chose the door based on the panel style that's in the existing doors. So we had a panel at the bottom, so it's not just going all the way down on these 2 single doors. It has a panel in there, which then looks very similar to the garage door. And the door that was in the mudroom, the existing rear entrance, they have 2 little cubbies right here. The door that was there that you can't see because it's a little dark, that door is coming out and going into the garage. So we're reusing that as well. And the windows that are in this area right here, what's now the current breakfast area, we'd like to reuse them instead of using this window, but we're a little tight on space. So we'd have to do a little bit of reconfiguring of some of the cabinetry and storage on the inside to use them. So if we can, we'll pick these windows out of the little breakfast niche and put them here. Otherwise, this window will match the window to the mudroom, which matches with the style of the window that's kind of the transom over top of the larger plate glass there.
So that window in that little bay now is a triple, right? It's a single center one's larger than the 2
That's
flanking.
correct, yes.
So that would be the option to go in place of that single right now with the transom?
Yes, so if I can do that, we will. You can see it over here. We do have those triples right here. And that's to kind of look a lot like what we're pulling out here. These aren't the exact same windows. We wanted to pick them up and put them here. So we had 3 and then 3, but we just are a little tight on space. So it's one of those things that when it starts to form, if we can move the cabinetry around to make it work and not affect this little seating area in the family room, then I want to put them in. And so does the homeowner. And that's one of the reasons that we were having such a hard time with the placement. So if we can't get it in, then we said, well, let's replicate the window pattern that we've got going on at the mudroom and with the large plate glass.
I think either way would be fine.
Okay.
For me. Now you've got, that one looks a little higher than some of the other windows. Is that a floor level issue, or is that just the size, the sill heights are remaining the same and the window's just taller?
They're a little different. The windows that are coming off the back here, there's different sizes. Like these windows here are actually taller than this window here. So when I replicated these, I used the same size.
Okay.
And when I was working with the windows that are in the existing house, I went back to that size.
Okay.
So it was interesting. They didn't have a consistent size window in the back of the house. They had a consistent style, but they didn't have a consistent size, nor a width to height ratio. And I went through and did all the ratios, and every single one of them was different.
Stealing windows off the back of the truck as they're going. Right?
I think so. And then the windows that you see here, we're actually not going to remove them. The glass might come out, and there might be some handrail, but our roof purposely was done as a hip with a cathedral ceiling. So when you're coming down the stairs, you can look into the family room. And we won't have to remove the windows. So we don't have to deal with the structure. We don't have to remove any of that wall. And the door is right here. So we'll enter in that same door. And then we'll have the exposed stone in the family room.
That's cool.
Yeah, because basically the idea is, as you look at the back middle of the house there, we can't use that middle door right here. It basically is a road to nowhere. So I don't want to lose the stone. We don't want to lose the stone or the windows. So we've been talking with Liz about trying to make sure we keep all that, but get the flow and make that door functional so that we can have multiple entrances into the house. That's been one of the issues with the kids.
Right now, that door goes underneath the staircase. And it's a little bit low of a headroom once you enter. Like the door itself is pretty high, but once you go in, it's a low ceiling. So it'll work nicely as an entrance into the family room, but not necessarily as your primary exit and entrance, because you have to go from the kitchen into the foyer and then back out again. So the only portion of wall we'll be removing is right here where the breakfast niche is, right there. So the second floor stays intact all the way around, and the first floor comes out, so that we can actually come from the kitchen in. And we'll have a support beam there with a few of the columns, and we'll be able to enter the family room that way. And that's in Plan A8.
So it looks like on the long extension of the house that exists, that has the kind of the greenhouse on top, you're adding about 12 foot 10 to that, coming
Yes.
backwards, but only single story.
Yes.
The family room section is going to step back from that and be about 25 feet in depth, but only showing about 12 foot 3.5 or 4.
Yes.
And then you step back one more time for the entry and mudroom, that's another 12.9.5. It steps back in both directions.
Excuse me, Liz,
Yes.
can you not share that picture?
Oh, sure.
So anyhow, I think I have a good understanding of how the plan is stepping and how the massing works and the details that you're trying to replicate, and the reasoning behind the windows, and reusing existing is always something that we really hope people can do. I think in terms of the footprint,
Except for the greenhouse, of course.
you'll find a use for that somewhere.
Somebody will, but we won't.
I think in terms of the footprint, the main mass of the house is maintained. Possibly this piece that goes back had some openings that were, it's been muddled with quite a bit over the years. There's a stone fireplace that's going away, that's been going away for years. So, you're kind of peeling back those layers and bringing it a little bit closer to what it used to be, but also bringing it up to your new standard of what you need. So I don't think there's anything that's out of proportion on any of the, in terms of the massing of the plan and so forth. So
Okay.
So I think in terms of the house, I'm satisfied with the explanation. So if you want to get into the garage,
Sure.
now the garage is way in the back of the house.
Yes.
Oh, also to mention that virtually none of this is visible from the street.
Yeah.
No, none of it is.
I was just going to ask you,
I mean, you can probably,
Just-
if you really tried hard, you might be able to see some of it, but it's really kind of tucked in.
It'll all be tucked in, and the only thing you'll see is the front of the garage, but that's even up at a high elevation.
does it look like the footprint is just, the new piece is just a little bit less than the width of the house from the front? I'm not saying that right, but I was trying to stare at the plan, and it looks like you're...
Yes, let me go to
is that
the,
correct? On
site plan.
8A even, I can see?
Yes, which I can't open up. The width of the widest portion, which is from the stairs of the family room to the back wall, is less than the width of the house.
And I'm sorry, I wasn't, but if you're standing in front of the house, you do not see, doesn't step out.
That's correct. It
That's-
steps in.
Right.
Mostly because when I want to meet materials, it's hard to meet the materials because you can't
Yep.
fit it right and without, you get a seam there. So I like to step
So
it in and have a corner, and then it also tapers it so you can't see that from an angle unless you come around probably over, way up into the yard and driveway. Plus, they're at an elevation. They're really sitting high on the
Oh,
hill.
so it's even set. Well, that's a very
Yes.
good generic, keep it a little more narrow
Yes.
is a good, excellent.
Yeah, because if you're standing on the street, your head is basically at the top of the basement. So it's almost
Okay.
like when it was
Okay.
built originally, it was built up and
Yes.
dug down to the street level, if you will. So everything's kind of elevated from the street. I have a rock wall and everything. You can't really see much of the back at all.
The main roof is the only one that flares, right?
I'm sorry?
The main roof is the only one that flares out at the eave. The porch roof is straight.
Porch doesn't,
The porch roof is pretty straight. There's a little, let me get to the
Actually,
thing.
it's,
There's a little flare
but it's right at the
right
wall,
at the
right?
end.
Yes.
Just right at the end, and it's really just very gentle.
Okay.
And we would try and replicate that as best as we can, or especially around the porch. And we would just want to make sure we show the rafter tails.
Right.
which is good.
That's the goal.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry, I backtracked there for a second.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
This is a picture of the existing garage. And it is, even though it has a wider door and you can put 2 cars in there, it's very narrow space. And it's not, the structure of it is a bit compromised. You can see the deflection in the header just in the picture over the door. And it's concrete block, right? Is that what I remember?
It's cinder block.
Yep, the cinder block. So it's been there for a while, and we need to make this so that we can get a couple of cars in there and have some place for storage, but we wanted to replicate, again, the roof and the house. So we did for the front elevation, the stone around the front, and it wraps the corners of the house so that it looks like a cornerstone. And then we do stucco on the other side. So I can pull out, well, I'll start with the front elevation. This particular dormer here replicates what's going on the house. So when you look at, get this. So when you look at these windows up here, and then there's another one that shows the double dormer. Let me see if I can get to that one. On the 2 sides, there we go. This has a chimney going through it. The other side does not. But this is the idea that we want to replicate this style dormer with the double windows. So it's like a double wide dormer. And so that would go right here. And the shingles, the shingles that are on there, the slate shingles, they actually go up along the sides of the dormer. So we would do the same thing on this plan as well. And then this is shingle roof, or the slate roof, and the slate on the side of the dormers. And so we have 1 dormer facing the front and 1 dormer facing the house. And the ones for the house, so here is all 4 views. This is the view that faces the house. This is the door from the existing exit from the kitchen. That's the door coming over to here. So we're going to reuse that door. We're going to put in a window on this side just for some additional light, because my children don't like to go in a garage when it's dark. So we're going to put the extra window in there just for some additional light, some working space and light, and then do another dormer off the side here that replicates what's going on the side of the house, of the main house on the roof. And we have the overhang with the exposed rafter tails and some brackets on that side. And the stone wraps around the corner, so it looks like a cornerstone. And then we'll continue with the stucco to match the house from there.
Can you fold that back a little bit and get it all into view for a second? That'd be great. Okay. Now, that front dormer, is that a hip on that? On the front, on that roof on the dormer, or is it
This one is a
a-
gable.
the front dormer is a gable dormer?
On this one is a gable, this one is a hip.
Okay,
Because on some of the ones we've got here, we had the hips.
right.
And we just thought it looked a little softer with this because it was not as prominent of a dormer, so I put a hip on it.
And it looked like in some of the other views you had a gable dormer, though. If you look at some of the side views, I just wanted to make sure we were in, like that one.
Oh, you're right. I did. That was my mistake.
So they're all going to be hips then?
They should be hips, yes.
Okay. Can you make sure, when you're detailing that you get the deep overhangs that the original house has? Because they look a little light.
Sure.
I mean, it's just that shadow line is really what makes those dormers. And you see the rafter tails much better and all that. That's a scale thing for me, and if you're going to go to the trouble of making that detail, I would just do it, you know.
Absolutely. We'll replicate it.
And then if you can go to the front elevation again, that'd be
Sure.
great. You know, we're not really supposed to comment on finishes that much, but I'd almost rather see this building with a stone base all the way around and stucco up than have kind of a corner. You know, it's a simulated stone veneer, and then you're simulating a coining veneer, and
So you'd
and
rather
you've got
see,
stone above the doors, when period-wise, you would have probably a wooden lintel above the door.
the
You know what I
lintel,
mean?
the lintel that's on the house right now they look almost like a concrete lintel.
Right. But in an accessory structure, they would have dumbed it down a little bit and gone to probably
There'd
wood.
be a wood, the framing, yes, would
Yeah.
be wood. That's correct.
So all I'm saying is, to be true to that, you've done everything else. You've matched the roof line of the house, the dormer of the house. You've upgraded the garage doors significantly. All those things are great. Then you go to the next layer of detail, and if
And the door is where the stone is.
well, I just think maybe wrapping the whole front in stone makes it look a little bit more
Prominent than it needs to be.
not genuine.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So you'd rather see the
You
stone
guys know what I'm
stop.
talking about?
Yeah.
And put the
Because
stucco.
I think what Karen's trying to say in my head too is that accessory outbuildings then especially were a little less fancy because that wasn't their face to the world. So they felt it's okay to be less formal. Is that what you kind of?
Yeah, but, I mean, but I just think also that if you were to take just a stone base all the way around, you're probably using the same amount of stone as you're using on the face, and go to a wooden lintel that goes across the whole front, and maybe even the partition parts in between the doors are wooden post material. To me, that'd be a richer design for that piece, but that's, I'm not really supposed to tell you that you have to do that. It's a suggestion,
Okay.
that's all I'm saying.
It's definitely noted.
Yeah.
So you're thinking like more like keep the stone on
Something
the
like that, and
foundation
maybe
only.
the base of the post can be stone as, I don't know. I think they're probably too small to be stone bases there, but typically, that would be, you know, they always take the concept of the main house and push it out into the accessory buildings, but they have to take the level of detail down a notch. So they keep the stone, but everything else is kind of a, you know, a lesser detail. But when you get into the roof's the roof, so you just match the roof, so.
Well, we're still working through these details,
Yeah.
so we're absolutely, we'll definitely discuss that as options because it, again, I like that just as equally. It's just a matter of working it through, I think.
And then in terms of how that sites, you know, I think the lot certainly is large enough to have originally had a three-carriage, you know, bay. This is, the garage that's there is a later piece. It's probably a 20s piece or something like that.
That's what I've been told, yeah.
So, you know, there may have been one before that was that size, and they just, you know, but I think this is in keeping, you know, it's in scale with everything that's going on. And it's also trying to make it part of the house, that the other one is not, you know?
Yeah, we're just trying to make it functional.
Other than
I
the
mean,
color scheme, that's about it. This one, you know what I mean? That's.
Yes.
So anyhow, those are just suggestions, but I think in terms of what we have to look at, scale, proportions, relationship to the house, and the historical nature of how accessory buildings were built like this, it's all following those guidelines, I think. So
great.
anything else we say, you can take with a grain of salt.
No, we'll
But that's just our opinion, because that's kind of what we do.
The more
so.
people that look at it, usually the better it ends up in the
And
end
it's
anyway.
budget-driven and all that. I understand that. Now, can you explain the infinities?
Okay, so when I get the CAD plan from the surveyor and I load it up onto my program, for some reason, the trees turn out as infinities.
Okay.
And we
That's all I
don't
need
know how to fix it.
That's it.
I don't know why.
No, I just thought that was an interesting.
Yes, it is, and it's a bit, we can't get rid of them either, so.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think, I think we all have a clear view of what you guys are doing.
Great.
You guys have any questions? Mark?
I'll just say I really like the way you've activated that side porch, and so that you can use it. You've extended it. I think it's a beautiful part of the original house. And so I really appreciate what you've done there. It's very nice.
Just to reiterate, everything else you said is beautifully described. Reusing existing original pieces, I think, is a great
Okay.
addition to what you're doing.
And I guess the only other question I have really quickly is, in the new work, you have stucco going down to stone, and you have an AZAC trim board. The other house has a flare because it's covering up wood. How's that going to engage the old and the new? You're going into corners, so it's easy to start and stop things, but you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do, and I know we
It might
have
be at a
some
different
pieces
level.
of trim that pop up every once in a while. We'll probably end up more with the flare,
Okay.
just because it's what's going on, but it's.
Because under the flare probably is some board, some band, too. You never know.
That's the thing,
Yeah.
we're not really sure what's under it, plus it's on the second floor, so I
Right.
wasn't sure if I wanted to carry that whole thing down to the first floor or just put the band in. We almost need to see what's underneath it.
Right.
Uh,
Because, some of it has it's almost like a big, it looks like it's just a big quarter-round molding under the flare that's
Looks like they had to
visible.
cover something up, and
It's
it was
visible,
going to make
that's-
the stucco step out, so they did a flare so they could
So
cover it.
when you get into it, you'll
Figure out why they did it.
Yeah.
And if it seems like it's something original to the house that's worth carrying down, we'll do it. If
Mm-hmm.
it looks like they were just covering up a piece of trim board as if they transitioned from shingle to stone, then we'll probably put an AZAC trim board around the bottom,
Okay.
because it, wouldn't necessarily work carrying it down to the first floor.
All right, and so these revisions, we have enough to go on the record, you
Yes,
said, right?
I do. I have
Okay.
lots of copies here.
Okay, so we'll hand them in to
Yes.
these guys. You want to make a motion on anything?
Sure. I motion that we approve.
Okay, I would second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, three.
Great, thanks.
Three of us voting, three of us say aye.
Appreciate it, and thanks for the comments, too.
You're welcome. Do
Thank
you know how it works from here on out?
We get a letter from once everything's been finalized.
Right,
correct?
and then you can go to whatever other things you need to do now. But you have grading, you have building permits, I don't know whether you have zoning or not,
No, we don't have any
you're
zoning,
cool,
thank
okay.
goodness.
Okay, so, you're not allowed to put a spade in the ground, but you can go to the next level, so.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. It's going to be a
Okay.
nice project.
Yeah, Thanks very much.
Thank you. It'll take me a minute to get all my stuff out of the way here. Sure.
Okay. Now, next project, I want to talk slowly so you can get that out of the way. It's hard, 2014-14, 236 Upland Way. We have a one-story addition to residence. And I think Ann Ledger's here to talk about that. Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay.
I'm Ann Ledger. I'm the architect for the Mallon fence at this address. This is a very small project, beautiful, significant house in Wayne, as you can see from the pictures. These two front pictures show the little bay window right here and right here that we're going to be taking off. All we're doing is expanding the breakfast room. And in doing that, we're going to be doing a lot of structural work inside the house, but the little addition that we're building is going to be stone to match the existing house. You can see on the site plan, it's just this little piece right here. And the little corner bay does not extend out any farther than what we're adding. One reason that we're only going out that far, you can see on the elevation drawing, we want to preserve this shutter, which is right here in the photograph. So we're sort of micromanaging some of the details of the old house. We're doing a 6 or 8 inch stone veneer, so we'll be able to match this stone pretty closely. I think it's.
Do you have any information on this house?
You know, the owners have many photographs of the old house. I don't.
It's
have
not
it.
in our inventory, so I don't have any information from our, I didn't go to the Historical Society, but it's a significant house.
It
so
is.
There
It's
ought
a
to be
beautiful
something on
house.
it. And whether that bay is original or not,
Oh, I seriously doubt it.
it
In
doesn't
this-
look like it is. It's jammed in there.
This room, this part of this addition, this was actually an addition. If you look at the old photographs of the house, there's a one-story piece right here. So this whole wing was added, and I'm not sure when, but it's quite some time ago. I'm not even sure of the original date of the house, but the owners have much information that was given to them by the previous owner. A lot of old photographs. There were porches on the front and the sides, and the inside of the house has beautiful millwork. We're going to do our best to keep the detail very consistent inside and out. We've matched the addition windows here. We'll match the windows in the dining room here, which is right next to it. These will be new windows also. The roof will probably be a standing seam metal, which is different than what I have drawn here. The existing roof on the house is all slate, and it's going to be a rather low pitch, so we're going to do the standing seam, probably copper. They have copper gutters and downspouts.
Okay. I think it's an improvement over an appendage that was put on at another time. So it's actually going to make that space more usable and, give that section of the house a little more footing on it, which I think is a nice touch. That happens to be the only corner you sort of see from the street, I think.
It is, the last picture, the fourth picture here does show a view from the street, so you can see that little bay. The picture up above, too, you can see it. There's no foundation under it. It's just cantilevered out.
Okay.
And it's a freezing cold space.
And it's got a big bubble on the roof.
It has
too,
a
right?
big 4-foot
big
square
bubble.
bubble
Yeah.
skylight, so there are a lot of good reasons to
Okay.
replace it. They've also dropped the ceiling in that whole room to accommodate a beam that somebody wanted to conceal in the ceiling, so we're going to take the ceiling back up to the original height, which will greatly improve the interior feel of the room.
Yeah, I think these are, completely within the realm of what, it's enhancing what's there and making a space that was done sort of halfway, way back when, into something that's, really part of the house now, more part of the house, so.
The interior work will also open this whole space up to, we're taking out an interior stone pier that will open it up to the kitchen, so it'll be much more open, be much nicer on the inside.
All right, I mean, all the information that we have is very clear.
Right.
Site plan shows exactly what's going on. Pictures tell 1,000 words as well, and of course your words. So I'm happy to say I'm in agreement on everything here, so.
Yeah, very nice. How do you match the stone?
I'm leaving, it's going to be natural stone, but the stonemason has looked at it, and he said that he can match it.
Oh, wow.
And we're going with a 6 or 8 inch veneer, so,
Okay.
you know, it'll be a substantial load-bearing sort of looking
Yeah.
stone.
Wow.
We're going to do a frame wall with the stone veneer.
When do you stop calling it veneer when it's that thick?
I think when it's load-bearing, then it's probably
I guess so.
over maybe 10 to 12
I
inches.
guess,
yeah.
10, yep,
Yeah, if it's holding up weight, it's not a
that's a
veneer.
good point. But it
Yeah,
just
and I don't
sounds
know
It
how-
could be 10 feet wide and not be, you know, it could be a veneer.
I guess you're right.
you know?
It's just so substantial.
Yeah.
It's great.
So it's not carrying the roof load, it's just going to, we'll
Right.
build the addition and then put the stone
And
on.
then,
You're actually fixing a past error.
Mhm.
It's very nice.
It's a fun job to do that.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the C of O.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
3? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Another one. Good job. Is there any public comment on anything that, I didn't ask that for the first project, but, nothing? Okay. Okay. Oops. Okay, do we have any new business we need to attend to? I think we do have some old business. Mr. Daly has an update on a previous project.
Help me out here. All right. Basically, what we had is an approved plan for 401 Oak Lane. The approved version of this, I don't know if I get versions on here. This was the approved version as it originally was presented in front of you. And because of the change in beam and floor height here, this section of roof went up, which changed this look to this. It's normally not something that we bring back, but we felt as though, since we had both drawings, we would let you know, and it is a visual. So if you drive
Yeah.
by and
Well, I happen to notice that this looked a lot bigger than what we approved, but it exists right now, so there's not much we can do about that. I think I like the smaller version better, just because of the, and I mean, we're just doing comments on this now. It's just for record's sake, right?
yes,
Okay. I think the proportion of the original or of the new work to the original house was a little bit better. This piece is very big right now to me in terms of the rest of that house. But I do like the fact that and I sort of commented on that one little gable that comes over, that I didn't feel like it was sort of a decoration, but we were okay with, breaking up that roof line. But I like the fact that it's lower than the main roof. I think that helps. So it is what it is.
again, just running it past you.
It was good.
Can you look at the first one more time real quick, and then, just to make you move paper?
Side by side?
Yeah, is there side by?
Can't get them
okay.
side, come on now.
No.
I see, I
Let's
see.
see in once,
Yeah. See, this,
Oh, I see now.
this one, the
Scooch out.
scale of that's
Okay.
better, but I like the way
Yeah.
the difference in heights of the roofs work on this one. So it's kind of like, if there was a combination of both of them, that would have been my preference, but
I see what you're saying.
the real world got in the way, right?
look, I can get a pencil and erase some of these if you want. Just, yes, the real
No,
world
it's-
got in the way because of structure.
But
Yeah.
it's good to show. Thanks for showing us.
Okay. All right, anything else in the old world of business? Nope. Okay, I think we can adjourn if there's no other comments. Okay, I move to adjourn. Second? Okay, we're adjourned.